Hi, in this video we're going to install a Red Hat Enterprise Linux version 8, well 8 whatever, operating system. We have a network already, and so I'll save that one, yep. And okay, so we go new, we're just going to call this Red Hat Enterprise Linux, 8 will do. It's a Linux, and it comes up automatically with Red Hat 64-bit version, which is good. We're going to give the thing, say, 2048, so give it 2 gigabytes of memory. We're going to create a hard drive. It's going to be a VirtualBox disk image format, dynamically allocated, and we'll allocate, say 18 gigabytes. It doesn't really matter what the size is. And we'll create it. So here's our virtual machine, and what we need to do is play with the settings here, and we need to, number one is put in an optical disk in the form of an ISO image, and we also need to set the network card. By default, when you create a network, or when you create a virtual machine, it always puts the interface as NAT. What we want though is something that matches the network diagram that we've got. So I'll just quickly pull that up. Cert4 network installation. It's this one here. So this is our network diagram, and we've currently already got the 2 routers, the 2 servers, and the Windows 10 machine installed and running. And you can see that. I'll just minimize this thing out of the road. You can see that those are all running right here. The Red Hat, which is this device here, which is going to have an IP address of 192.168.3.4. It's going to be attached to an internal switch called switch 1. So that's what we need to do, is we need to get the configuration of this to match our network diagram. So first of all, if we go to the network where it says NAT, click on that, and we want to change that from NAT to an internal network. And I'm going to hit the drop down box and click on Cert4 Switch 1. So that's just so it doesn't get confused with any other networks. So we're now connected to that network, and the optical drive we need to fix as well. So you can click on the settings and get all of these. So then it's just a matter of, advanced and whatever you want to do. The system, I usually untick the floppy disk because we don't have one, which means it boots from the optical drive first. And you can change the boot order of these things by hitting the arrow keys and moving things up and down. So I could move that up or down. The processor here, we're going to give it another processor, so it's got at least 2. It doesn't need the page extension, physical address extension, although no execute bit. It doesn't really need that. It put it on by default, and it is a server, so I'm just going to leave it there anyway. Acceleration is enable nested paging by default. So I'm basically keeping the defaults the same. Displays the same. Storage is the, you'll see that's the 18 gigabyte drive maximum. Current size is actually only 2 megabytes because nothing is installed on it as yet. Audio network, it's now plugged into the switch 1 as we suggested. So I'm going to go back to storage, click on the empty CD-ROM, and you can click on here and choose a disk file, or you can do it from here, same thing, choose a disk file. It's just a shortcut to it. So I'm going to go to the VM resources that people have got access to on the internet, and I'm going to look for ISO images, and I'm going to go to Red Hat Linux. And I'm going to select, I believe there's an 8.4 out now, so if you've downloaded 8.4, install that, that's fine. So we've just mounted that ISO image into this optical drive. So now we're going to hit the start button. And while this is starting up, I'm also going to open up the assessment for this. So it's the installer manager server, and the assessment it's one of these, can't remember which one. I think it's the skills. We'll just open up that one. And I think, yeah, see, it's this one here. We don't need to do the very first section, but from section 2 down we need to, and so here we need to put in screenshots into here. So the file system. So all this part is all part of the installation process. So what we'll do is we'll drag this to one side, pull this so that we can see it, minimize this out of the road, and okay. So you can see it's starting to boot. And don't forget you've got view, take a screenshot, host E. That's one way. And that takes a screenshot of all of this and puts the screenshot as a PNG format into the folder where this virtual machine is stored. The other way I've got is using this little program called GreenShot. GreenShot allows you to capture a region, a window or a full screen, and you can send it to directly to the Word document at the place that you've. So if I've got it set to, my cursor set to there, it'll go to wherever my cursor is in this document. So I'm probably going to use the GreenShot utility. It's just simpler for me. Okay, so it's just checking the ISO to make sure everything's okay. It's got a like an MD5 check, so it's making sure that the hash that was created when it was the hash that's created when it was originally that ISO image was created still matches. They run that same sort of hashing algorithm on it and make sure that everything's okay. Looks like it's okay, otherwise it would have stopped. Okay, so it's starting the installer, which is good. So I've clicked into it, so the focus is in on the virtual machine at the moment. So you can see that it's actually got a cursor now. That's good. And so what we're picking is English, and I'm going to pick Australian English and hit continue. I don't think we need it says files. The first thing that we need is file systems and virtual memory as planned, and we're not up to that, so let's go continue. Let's make sure I've pressed it. Okay, so these are all of this is the installation summary, and what we need to do is go through all of these things so that we can begin the installation. So keyboard's set to Australian, I'm quite happy with that. Installation destination, so file systems and virtual memory. So we're going to look at setting up all of these things, and we'll take the screenshots as we need to. So I'm just going to whiz across left to right. Localization, language is Australian, date and time. So I'm going to set the date and time to basically Sydney, Australia. That's good. Done. So we've got Sydney, Australia, English, Australia, connect to Red Hat. I don't want to register and do that, so I'm going to go done on that. Installation source. Our source media is the CD-ROM. So I'm just going to, I don't think I need software selection, network security policies. No, we're not up to that, so I'll go done on that. Software selection. So here what we're going to do is a minimal install. So we've got basic functionality and a standard installation of Red Hat. So base environment and additional software. And we're going to include this in under section B in our documentation. So we might do graphical administration tools for managing many aspects of the system. We'll tick on that as well. Guest agents for running under a hypervisor, which we could do as well because this is running in a virtual machine. Headless management, network servers for DHCP and all that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to guest agents used when running under a hypervisor, which we are. We're running under VirtualBox. Standard installation and graphical administration tools. So they're the three packages I'm going to use. So if I hit print screen, I get nothing until I move out, and then I hit print screen, and now I'm going to go software selection. And I'm going to save that to Word to my document. So you can see it's saved it into my document, and I'm going to probably stick that under the software selection because I've got it in the wrong spot. So that'll do. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So let's go back up and go done. So I've done those three. Let's go installation at the moment automatic partitioning. So this is where file system, this is section A. So so we're ticking the virtual box. We're not adding a specialized disk like an iSCSI disk or anything like that. Disks left unselected will not be touched. So at the moment we've got this disk, which is the 18 gigabytes, and the storage setup is going to be automatic. I could make additional spaces available if I wanted to, and I could actually encrypt the data as well. But I'm just going to leave it the way it is. So I'm going to take a capture of that installation destination, and that shows that it's the Red Hat. And I'm going to save that to my clipboard, and then I'm going to right mouse click and paste it into there. And I'll make it smaller. Okay, so that's the file system in virtual memory. Well, it's the file system anyway. And we've got the software selection there. Okay, so let's go done on that. And KDump is enabled. I don't know what that is. Network and host name, so let's select that. So the host name is going to be called Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8. It's the name of the virtual machine. And I'm going to hit apply on that. The Ethernet is currently disconnected. So I'm connecting it. It's getting an IP address, you can see, of 3.102. 3.102, that sounds like it's plugged into the wrong device, doesn't it? So let's go to networking. Switch. Oh, it's getting an IP address 3.102. Okay, so it is in switch 1, otherwise it'd be 103 dot something. So it's getting the right IP addresses and it's getting the right DNS settings as well. So I'm happy with that. And I'm going to hit done. Oh, actually, what I need to do is go back into that because I need to take a photo of that. So let's go print screen. And let's go copy to the clipboard. This is the network and host name, so I'm going to go Control V, and I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. Okay, so we're pretty right so far. Let's go done. The security policy, which is the next section D there. So so at the moment we don't have a security policy set. This profile defines the baseline lines, the center sys, profile for internet security, unclassified, non-federal information. Okay, so we've got protection for general purpose systems. So we could pick that, or we could pick the PCI DSS baseline, or health insurance policy. So we could pick that one, or the Australian Cybersecurity Centre Essential 8. I imagine this one would be even worse. Payment card industry's data security standards. Oh, look at that one. I don't have any problems, so we're going to pick this one. Okay, so let's go back and take another screenshot. because this one doesn't come up with problems. Okay. Copy to the clipboard, and we're gonna can we paste the picture, keep the source formatting, and we'll delete that one. So now we've got what happened? Okay, we've got this one, which is the PCI DSS, and we've got packages that are added, and we've got a green tick, and we haven't got any little red problems in there. So it's on. Let's go done. This should allow us to have everything's okay. So now what we can do is take a picture of this, and that's our installation summary, because this is what it is. Let's go and let's go print screen and take a copy of that. Copy to the clipboard, and we'll paste that in and just resize it a little bit. Okay, and now all we're going to do is show a screenshot of when it's successfully installed. I think we've got a picture for everything. Yeah, we have. Okay. So it's just a picture here when we finish. So I'm going to begin the installation. That was a bit of a drama to find the right security policy to apply, one that wasn't going to cause problems for us. Okay, so I'm just going to pause this for a little bit. One of the things I like about the Linux installs, it tells you how many packages it's still got to do, and so at the moment it's doing number 209 out of 578. So it's finished installing them now. It's configuring all of the bits of software. It installed 576 different little modules. Now it's configuring those. Okay, so it's now completed the installation process, and we'll tell it to reboot. Okay. So after our initial boot up, we'll be able to take a screen capture and place it over here. Okay, so it's rebooting. Okay, I'm not quite sure what the login, well, probably root, and I had to hit the password twice in order to get it to. Okay, so we're in, and it says activate the web console with systemctl, enable now, and cockpit.socket. So I imagine that now you could web browse into it. It would have been nice if this thing had a GUI. I'm running ifconfig, which is the command line to show what the IP address is, and we can see here that our IP address just over here is 3.102. So I'm going to web browse into that and see if I can see what this thing looks like. I think this is still a successful initial boot, and so I'm going to take a screen capture of this and stick it in there, and then I'm going to web browse into it and see if I get something that I like a bit better. Okay, so let's just go print screen, and let's just go Red Hat like that, copy to the clipboard and copy that in there. Okay. So let's just see what happens when we web browse in. So I'm going to use a web browser. Let's make it a little bit smaller than that. Remembering that we want 192.168.3.102. So I'll just create a new 192.168.3.102. Can't be reached because I was doing it from the host, which is a bit dumb of me. What I really need to do is do this from one of the computers in the network right beside it. So if I go to the main server, which is right beside this machine, and 192.168.3.102. It's gone out to the internet. It hasn't actually got to 3.102. So let's ping it and see if we can ping it. We should be able to ping it. There we go. We can ping it. So we can definitely ping it. And it did say activate the web console with system control enable blah 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 blah, which we put in, and it's done it all. and we've checked the IP address. So it may have a particular port number that's required, and I don't know what that is. So we could look up a web console port for Red Hat Linux. So let's just do that, shall we? So let's go 99.com. I'm going there because I'm over using Internet Explorer, so I'm just going to install Chrome and run it. It's downloading. I'll look up Red Hat web console, see if it's got a particular port. Suppose I could do it from here. I really don't like Internet Explorer. Web console. Go Red Hat Web 8 web console port. There we go. Try that. Still installing. Such a pain. So we've just done this thing here. Add the cockpit service firewall open port 9090 on the firewall. So I'm assuming this cockpit socket's already done because it's just said enable it. So I'm thinking that it's port 9090. There it is, port 9090. So let's see if we can get Chrome's okay. Actually, let's just kill that. Close the window. Open that up. If it's not getting out, it did get out. It was just taking its time. So let's go 192.168.3.102, port number 9090. I'm just seeing if I can web browse into the Red Hat. Yep, looks like I can. Advanced, proceed. Username is going to be root, and our password is the login. Okay, so there I am. I've logged into Red Hat as root, and I can see networking and accounts. So yeah, it does have a web server running. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of put these two things side by side and take a big screen capture of the whole lot, so that we can, and I'll highlight the things here. So let's go print screen. Print screen. Okay. So let's go from there to roughly there. I'm going to open in an image editor. And I'm going to do things like I'm going to highlight this thing. And I'm also going to highlight that I had to, from the command line, log in and do that. And then that allowed me to use that to web browse in and get a web front end. Okay, so let's copy that to, I think that's a better solution than the one that I had here. So I mean, it's the same thing as well. So I'm going to delete that and Control V in this one. And I'll probably leave it that sort of width as well. Okay, so that's the last picture that we need in order to show a successful Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8 installation, and to show that we can get into it after the initial boot up. Now, if we hadn't put any of this security, the PCI DSS, which was in here, in the security policy, which was that one there. This is where we put the PCI. If we had turned all that off, then it would not have locked the thing down like this, and we could probably have logged in and had a standard graphical user interface. But it, the documentation here said, show me the security policy selection. So we did that. It locked it down so that you had only a command line, and we activated the web console as it suggested and then web browsed into it. So I think we've sort of covered everything as well, and we can see that that's what the installation summary was. That's the administrative account, and that shows that we've successfully can get into it after the initial boot up. So I'm officially calling that done, and now we'll move on to the next part 3 of this assessment. Okay, that's it.